السلام عليكم. يعطيكم العافية جميعا. إن شاء الله الصوت واضح والشاشة واضحة. بعد إذنكم اللي تقدروا تنبهونا في الشات إذا كل شيء تمام، الصوت واضح والشاشة واضحة.
الصوت مش واضح. الله يسعدك. وعليكم السلام.
الصوت مو واضح، في تقطيع ولا واطي؟ تمام، الصوت واضح إن شاء الله. ممتاز. السلام عليكم ويعطيكم ألف عافية جميعا. Bakkah Learning is a leading company in training field with a team of highly qualified, certified experts in different spectrum of business. Learners will be supported all the way in their journey to achieve professionalism and better opportunities in life. Make sure that learning services we provide are carefully chosen and aligned with today's business world. Therefore, our development team works around the clock to employ exclusive partnerships in designing a collection of internationally accredited courses in various fields, such as project management, human resources, and business analysis, and much more. Our flexible delivery methods, self-paced and live online, enable every single ambitious individual to pursue their passion and grow in their fields of expertise. With internationally approved content, interactive learning environment, and hundreds of practice questions, we have got it all sorted out for you. Of all the learning hubs, Bakkah is a trustworthy one, thanks to our global exclusive partnerships with different accreditation bodies such as PMI, Axelos, Watts Martin, HRCI, and others. We have been blessed with supportive clients who usually leave upbeat comments about the courses they attended at Bakkah and talk well about the quality of our material, the professionalism of our instructors, and the assistance which added up to their experience here. Since establishment, Bakkah has successfully coordinated with more than 1,000 learning sessions, maintained effective engagement of more than 600 clients, helped in building more than 20,000 capabilities, and bridged more than 300 success partnerships. None of this would have been possible without the efforts of our dedicated instructors, which are more than 80. Why should you choose Bakkah as your learning hub? We provide courses in a set of various business fields, as we mentioned before. Since our monitoring process is learner-centered, we make sure the delivery method suits your availability. That's why we have live online, self-paced, and in-house training options. Our core attention is to prepare you by all means to pass the actual exam from the first try through the exam preparation course, exam simulators, and revision questions. Our relationship with you is special, and we want to make the decision easier for you. For only $29, now you can start your career in HR and complete the course of Associate Professional in HR according to your own pace. Not only this, but also the access you will get is for a whole year. Please note that this offer is for self-paced course only, and that you can enjoy it till March 5th using the promo code shown on the screen. Visit the link and join us today. Thank you so much all for listening, and thank you so much, Mr. Ammar. The floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining this session. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I know it is part of your valuable weekend. I'll try my best to make it a very nice, interactive. Wouldn't take much, to be honest. Nidar, if you can give me the host right, if you don't mind, so I can share the PowerPoint from my end. It wouldn't be a course, it will be interaction, more or less. So let's start. The people who joined the courses and my sessions, they know I don't like to be talking too much. I like to be interactive, especially for the webinar. I like it to be actually know that I have this much of almost 40 qualified ladies and gentlemen. Let's start. So I'll try to just change the background. Do it later now. So let's start by this. Whoever like to answer the questions, either by opening the mic or chit chat. What's your name? What's your role? And the expectation of this course. Actually, my name is Ammar Al-Aboud. I have 12 years experience in supply chain management. I am ABEX master instructor. Today, I'm holding a director role in one of the ministries within Saudi Arabia. I'm a consultant for multiple organizations, and I am part of the Supply Chain and Procurement Society. Actually, I'm the Vice President of Consultations and Studies within the Supply Chain and Procurement Association, which is a non-profit organization. And I get the privilege. Last year, one of the best things happens to me, actually. I joined Bakkah to be a partner with Bakkah and deliver multiple supply chain courses within supply chain arena. In the last 5 years, I focus in delivering supply chain courses. So the expectation from me in this course to share knowledge and experience from each other. And I hope it's going to be a great 2 hours. So anybody would like to join, either by mic or sharing name, role, expectation. أهلا وسهلا أخوي محمد. Advanced Payment Manager at STC Pay, which is a nice software. I use it intensively, to be honest. It's very convenient, especially when I know you can transfer money from your STC account to the current accounts. I don't mind to do so. I deliver in both English and Arabic, but just for the expectation from the Bakkah, and so the people who join it's in English. أخوي محمد, إذا أنت مهتم بالعربي, we could take it offline. I deliver multiple courses in Arabic. أهلا وسهلا أخوي أحمد قواسمي. أهلا وسهلا أخوي رامي. Medical, ما شاء الله, sharing medical gas engineer. أهلا وسهلا. By the way, I am industrial engineer and I'm proud of this. Then I did my master supply chain. مشعل العصيمي, project manager in Saudi payments. أهلا وسهلا. وسام, أهلا وسهلا, program manager and Royal Commission for العلا, which is one of the government entities that has been established recently and playing an amazing role within the tourism and GDP You're most welcome. Mr. Muhammad Abdullah, personal coordinator at NISBA, leading a construction company. Abdul Aziz from ZE, Ethiopia. You're most welcome. Hind Al-Eid, warehouse manager. حياك الله أخت هند. You're most welcome. Who else? Abdul Aziz, project director. Muhannad Noor, telecom rollout project from Egypt. You are most welcome. Muhammad. Ahmed Shihri, supervisor at National Guard Hospital, one of the greatest clients that I worked with in the previous roles. Abdullah Noshan, consultant, most welcome. Lubna, lean warehouse engineer. Lean is a great concept that can be taken within supply chain arena. Who else? Mu'taz, business manager. Sulaiman Yahya, civil engineer. Iyad Shimri, FM manager. Thank you so much. MashaAllah, a huge variety, which is gonna make it more interactive. أهلا وسهلا Engineer عبد الرحمن. أهلا وسهلا مكي الأصمخ, Head of Planning and Forecasting in Ministry of Health. You are most welcome. I'm great to have you all. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really feel honored to be within all of these professionalism, which is add more in me, inshallah. I'm pretty sure that you could add value and you can participate all the time. Let's start by asking this question. What does supply chain mean? Somebody meet you in the street and tell you ask you these questions. Well, I hear this terminology multiple times, supply chain. In Arabic, سلاسل الإمداد, سلاسل التوريد, سلسلة الإمداد, سلاسل التزويد. لا مشحة بالألفاظ. Doesn't matter. Supply chain. What does supply chain mean? You can open the mic and talk openly, huh? Anybody would like to participate? What is the supply chain? Can you hear me, ladies and gentlemen? What do you mean by supply chain? Mazen, management of flows in goods and services. Very good definitions. I like your definition. You refer to both products and services. Nidar, can you open the mic for the gentleman if you don't mind, Mr. Sulaiman Al-Yahya, so he can participate if you don't mind.
Mr. Sulaiman, okay, sure.
If anybody would like to participate, just open your hand so Nidar would know that you. Joe, it is about the supply chain principles. Ahmed said it's a network between companies and suppliers. It's great. Great definitions. It is a network. Then we'll come to this one. Coordinating various activities necessary to deliver products and services. I'll get back to this definition. Coordinating various activities necessary to produce and deliver goods and services to the business customers. MashaAllah, Abdul Abu Maidan, I couldn't pronounce your name probably, but that's really a great definitions. It's all the products, services, and activities happening until the end customer will come to what the difference between customer and consumer, where there's a lot of discussions about the last mile and importance. Will come to all of these. So Suleiman has the mic now, he can talk. Mr. LVP, approach between producer and consumer, a good try, very good try. Suleiman, can you talk? Mumtaz. Yes, Mr. Suleiman, if you could open your hand so she could give you the mic. Okay, I can give you the access from my side. Okay, Suleiman Yahya. Suleiman Yahya, the floor is yours. I think you know we can talk. Anyhow, okay, thank you, Suleiman. Not a big deal. Supply chain is I thought you are asked a question to talk. It is a system of people, processes, and technology involved in moving and processing resources and services from raw material to end users. So it moves actually all the way down from the producer to manufacturer to warehousing until it reaches to the end user. What do you mean by end user? What do you mean by end user? Customer. What is the difference between customer and consumer? Ahmed said buyer. Good. What is the difference between customer and consumer? Go ahead, Muhammad. تفضل محمد, go ahead. ممتاز. Muhammad say customer is the buyer of the good, consumer is the user of the good. You are almost there. Customer are people who purchase and use the product. Go ahead, Muhammad. Muhammad, if you can talk, go ahead, please.
Yes. I think the difference between customer and consumer, maybe the customer bigger than the consumer bigger than customer phrase or word. The customer could be inside the company or outside. I think that, but the consumer maybe outside only. This is my opinion about this difference.
Barakallah fik. Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you, Najah. Customers are purchasing the goods. Consumer is the end user of goods and services. You are almost there. طيب, let me ask another question. And by that, inshallah, we'll answer these questions. What do you mean by B2B versus B2C? Have you heard the terminology B2B and B2C? أحسنت, Mr. Alfifi. Business to business, B2C, business to consumer. أحسنت. Mr. Abdul Midan, business to consumer. Barakallah fik. And consumer is the final user. When we talk consumer means the individuals like me and you. But customer can be B2B, can be B2C. For example, we deliver this water to company X and deliver it to an individual. So dealing with B2C, it makes a lot of challenges, especially for the last mile, which is business to consumer, which means companies serving individuals like me and you. Amazon, Noon, Namshi, Najri, Shein, you name it. Banda, Bandati, Carrefour, all of these has an online platform that deliver a product to a consumer, which is an individual like me and you, that they enjoying e-commerce. When is the last time you use e-commerce and receive the product? When was that? And how was your experience? Do you use e-commerce to buy product, pinch, map, or thobe? Always do that. How's your experience? It was fantastic, Ahmed. Enjoy it. Anybody else? How's the experience with e-commerce? Very smooth. To be honest, it's getting better and better customer service. People are trusting more e-commerce, especially in a crowded city like Riyadh and Jeddah. I think it's very convenient option, especially for a product that you didn't need immediately to use. I talked to one of the gentlemen working in Saudi Post, which is one of my best clients, to be honest. I love to work with them because they deal with a lot of challenging. Ahsanti, Jawahar. And I ask him the questions, what is the most common product that being requested frequently through e-commerce platform like Noon, Amazon, Souq.com before, what else? Extra online. What do you think the most common products? Ahmed said clothes. It's a good try. Anybody would give it a shot? Fifi say food. Food was dominant, especially during the COVID-19, but now the answer cosmetics. Oh, Faisal, you get it. Electronics. Yes, you absolutely true. The most commonly requested is the charger and especially the power bank. It's quite frequent. It's fast-moving items. So that's why all the e-commerce platform, they have a warehouse full of this one because it's fast-moving item. And it is a good practice to do it in our companies, that if we have an item that's fast-moving, we keep good inventory of it. We have item very slow-moving, we don't have much of it. Are all of you aware of the terminology fast-moving versus slow movement? In our accent say هذا المنتج يمشي بسرعة. Doesn't mean move it at its feet, but it means the turnover, get in and out quickly. So I need to have an inventory. A good example of this one, if you go to the convenience store, Bakkah al-Hayy, you would find he has a stock of water because he knows the client, if they don't find water, they don't want to buy other things because it's very dominant product, very necessity product. So they need to make sure that they have enough water to fulfill the client. So and there is a lot of practice that you can do with these. So a supply chain is a network of people. While we have all the digitalization, G5 and G6 talking about a lot of automations, at the core of the supply chain, I've just read actually a very nice article from Oracle. It's like a small study about supply chain. And they say one of the core, either make it or break it, success or failure is the people. So if you are a supply chain manager or dealing with supply chain, be extra cautious to have a supply chain professional because they are very rare and very demanding all across the globe. And Saudi Arabia is not exception. And processes that tell you how to receive a product, how to deliver it, the return claim, etc. If you go to Noon website, you would find different policies for different products. Have you ever come to a case whereby you ordered a t-shirt with a medium size and ended up to having a t-shirt with X large size? And you talk to the Noon, you brought the wrong shirt, please get it back. Or you can approach them through the chat box, which is the most convenient and common tool to deal with the customer, or through WhatsApp. For example, in Manaya, for electronic, they use WhatsApp. And they ask you, please keep the t-shirt and we will bring you the right size t-shirt. Why do you think Noon ask you not to return the t-shirt, keep it, and they will give you the new one? Ahsant ya Abdurrahman. Because the cost of return is outweigh the cost of the t-shirt. But let's have another example. If you request a mobile, let's say a 12, and you ended up having mobile 11, and you talk to Noon, I requested mobile version 12, you bring me 11. Would Noon ask you to keep the iPhone? Definitely, big no, because it's valuable item. That's why all the express delivery company, the last mile company, talking about Samsa, Naql, Saudi Post, Habaibna Aramex, by far almost they are the dominant in Saudi Arabia and the Arab world. They have different return policy for different products. And now let's move to the next one. Two or more parties linked by the flow of resources, material, information, and money that ultimately fulfill the customer request. Supply chain can be extended as and complicated like SABIC. They receive hundreds of materials from thousands of suppliers and deliver to hundreds of customers, or can be a small bakery in the street, or Fawal, they bring all the needed items, they make a little bit and sell it to consumer like me and you. So supply chain can be utilized in small shops, and it can be utilized for the big cooperation. It depends about the size and the needed. That's why a lot of companies talk to me and they requested, say, Ammar, there's a good ERP system, we would like to implement it. I think it will solve all the issues. And there is a software called Penny, for example, which is in my back, which is doing all the procurement visualizations. Shall we implement this software? And my answer to them, I couldn't say yes or no. There is no right answer. So we need to do analysis. But what I'm pretty sure, system cannot solve all the technical issues. So we need to solve all the problems. Because when we implement any software or do all the change, we need a system, a process, and people. If none of them is, all of them is available, we could succeed. Otherwise, we'll have a challenge when implementing and executing the software. And not to forget, when we do all the supply chain integrations, implementations, at wherever, it's all geared by the customer. Because everything happening during supply chain is a cost. the only source of income is all the activities happening in the supply chain is actually leading to a cost. There is only one party that could flip the coin, which is who is the only source of income? Ahsant, the customer or consumer. Because Abdullah, the customer can be a consumer and not vice versa. Every consumer is a customer, because I might sell to companies or to individuals. So they are the source of income. So I need to make all the flexibility and the changes required to deliver to the customer. As you can see the pictures, no matter if you have the best product, good service, if you couldn't reach to the customer, it has no value. Saad, I would love to do it in Arabic. I could do it actually. I did it tens of times, but inshallah, it is a suggestion for all our friends, ladies and men, requesting to do it in Arabic. Next time, inshallah, we'll do it in Arabic through this platform and different platform. I do agree with you. We need to have much and more of Arabic sessions. I promise you to do more, Saad. And I'm really sorry, we'll continue in English, because there are some of our colleagues are non-Arabic speakers, so we need to do it in English. There is a say, supply chain is as strong as your weakest link. So what do you mean by this? Supply chain is as strong as your weakest link. What do you mean by that? Supply chain is as strong as your weakest link. Weakest link. Your supply chain as strong as your weakest link. Ahsant, Mr. Vivi. I do agree. So let's say we have great manufacturing, a great warehousing, but we have a challenge in transportation. So we ended up, we have client that is not happy and things, so we hold our product. Let's say we have a great manufacturing, a great warehousing, a great customer service, but we have a problem with our supplier, like what happens in COVID-19 and post-COVID-19. As I said in my last article in Al-Watan newspaper, Sahifat Al-Watan, I mentioned clearly that while people almost, I wouldn't say 100%, are recovering from COVID-19, supply chain takes much longer to recover. I don't know what do you mean by Mr. Al-Haj say maybe join between clients and customer. I'm not sure what you mean. Here we go. This is the actual supply chain. It is sometimes called a supply network. What is the difference between supply chain or supply network? Why people say supply chain? We'll come to about the evolution of supply chain, but why people saying supply chain? Some of them say supply network. Some of them say supply ecosystem. Chain is the part of the network that people say. We can say supply chain flow chart. Barakallah feek, Mr. Faisal. What else? Why people is not saying supply chain? Ahsan, because it is by its nature is complicated. There is a network of supplier, a network of retailers, because it's not anymore the old game. Let me give you an example. Banda retailing, they used to have only physical stores where you go either Banda Tea or Banda or Hyper Banda. And you know what? During the COVID-19, they hit up by the lockdown. So they have no chance but to sell online. That's why they acquire and they do what you call English acquisition for an existing application for delivery, and they change it and do a lot of upgrading and improvement to do it. So actually most of the retailing, including for example Centerpoint or City Max, elsewhere they have multiple channels. If you are a customer of Centerpoint, how many modes you can buy a product of Centerpoint? How many channels you can buy a product from Centerpoint or City Max? Abdurrahman say 2. Anybody seconded him? Abdullah say 2. Faisal say either we buy from online or from store. Muhammad say 1. Anybody else? Actually, it is 2.5. Do you know a series called 2.5 Men? It is 2.5. One option's just to go directly to the store, pick from the store, which is have what they call it feel and touch. Sometimes you didn't need much, but actually you want to have the sense of feel and touch. You know, we go just to see the clothing or the t-shirt or the shoes, try it on. The second option actually is to buy it from online. And what is the remaining option? Anybody guess it? Either actually go choose and go to the cashier and get it from the store, or order it online and have home delivery. And I don't know if أحسنت يا فاطمة. Fatma Al-Haider brought it right. So you order online, but pick it from the store. So it is a hybrid mode between going to the store and buying online. You mix the experience, but what is the privilege? Why I would buy online and collect it from the store? Like Fatma and Ahmed mentioned. What do I do with this? Why I didn't have it and wait to have it in my home? So I will have the full experience of online. Ahsanti Fatma. Fatma mentioned one thing. First, fast. You make sure that you choose the right product, right color, right size, no damage. You minimize the risk, because every time you order online and deliver it through express delivery company, safe, you have a risk. One example, I requested to ship a laptop. I ended up having the laptop in the front of my apartment, which is not safe at all and not acceptable attitude. But this is a risk. No shipping costs, so they mix it. And let me ask you another question. Why consider it as a channel? Why it's not a part of online? That's why, Abdurrahman, I say it's 2.5 actually, because it is still, you need somebody to interface with this client. It's not a purely an online experience, because there is a handling, there is a verification, there is a collection point from your side, so does from Centerpoint. Ahsanti Abdurrahman, it's reducing the waiting time. Yes, for somebody cannot wait. And let me ask you another question about last mile. Do you know what last mile mean? Last mile means the delivery, especially for e-commerce, for B2C, like you are buying a product from Carrefour online and you receive it. What is the latest trend in the last mile? Ahsanti Ahmed, they will outsource the delivery company, definitely. That's why we call it supply network or supply chain and supply ecosystem. But why we need it? Why would they do delivery company? What else? A trend. I've noticed this one. And the delivery. It's not as convenient as home delivery, but it is somehow convenient, but it is win-win for the last mile. Anybody would give it a guess? Abdullah, you're almost there. Bakkah at locations. Yeah, but what if not all the companies are capable and scalable like Standard or CityMax and can do it? Some of them, they couldn't do it. Actually, a parcel delivery. Do you know what's parcel? They lockers. Do you know lockers? If you are living in Riyadh in Hattin, we have one locker of noon at one of the Adris petrol stations. And if you are going to Riyadh Park Mall, you will find a parcel lockers for Saudi Post. And there is multiple of red box at some of the Bandar store. Ahsant and shuttle, Abdullah Mahsin, yes, and shuttle. Why we need parcel and rather than having the product delivering to the consumer, to my house? First and foremost, is it convenient to go to a mall or a Panda? Or Ahmed say faster? Might be, might not be actually, because still they need to do the delivery from a warehouse or fulfillment center to the parcel. But why we need a parcel? Safe to a certain extent, Muhammad say, maybe. Avoid time differences. It might be a lower price. It depends on the management. Save costs for the company to a certain extent. Reduce shipping cost to a certain extent, yes. What else? Yes, Abdurrahman, I agree with you. Actually, it is about the convenience for the last mile delivery. Let's say it is at 12 p.m. and he call you, Abdurrahman, I have a shipment for you from Shein. Please, can I come? Because to say no, I'm out. I will go to the work, then I will go with family to have a dinner. I'll be back by 10 p.m. And by that time, he's not anymore the driver, and he need to hand over. So there's a lot of activities. He need to return it to a warehouse. Then another driver, and he need to do all the coordinations, and he call you back and asking you through WhatsApp for the locations, and etc. It's long process. It's another convenient way, and it is a win-win situations if they make it at a very convenient store. Actually, some of the logistics companies, especially in Europe, they use a pharmacies as a parcel delivery pickup point because it is a more convenient, and they expect you at least you visit a pharmacy once upon a time, because nowadays pharmacy is not anymore doing medicines and tablets. There's everything actually in the supermarket. It is in the pharmacy. So they if they locate the parcel location to be within close proximity, very close to the client, and they make it by zone, take you from 10 to 20 minutes, it's going to be acceptable. But takes much more, it will not be that much that acceptable by client. Let's back to the questions actually. Supply network, supply chain, because it is a very complicated networks of things happening. Another question, is the supply chain a linear? هل هي بخط مستقيم؟ Yes, actually, when I deliver courses 10, 12 years ago, I deliver it in one bad way. Then I notice it get misunderstood that it is a linear, which is not the case. Even the small corner shop, falafel shop, he has at least 4 or 5 suppliers. Supplier for the water, supplier for the ingredients, supplier for the packaging, supplier for the cartons, etc. So you have multiple suppliers, you have multiple consumers. So it is a network and moving backward and forward. طيب. So what do you have in supply chain? We have, let's say, we have a supplier. What do you mean by supplier? What do you mean by supplier? Fatma said supplying the goods. Abdurrahman, the one who has the raw materials. Al-Fifi, producer. Ahmed say products. Muhammad, I'm not sure, sponsor, I'm not sure. So what do you mean by أحسنت يا محمد القرني? When we say supplier, anybody provide a service or a product called a supplier. And there is some misconception in this one. What is the difference between a product and service? And why Muhammad al-Garniyas, he distinguished between a product and service. All the answers are correct, by the way. Raw materials, components, packaging materials, ingredients. أحسنت يا محمد سعد اليحيى. He said it is intangible. Anything you can feel and touch is a product. Like this one, that one. It is a product. Anything you can feel and touch, it's a product. But anything that you cannot feel, like cleaning service, consultancy, legal, banking, it's all service. Okay. So we have a supplier that is providing raw materials, component, packaging material, services, cleaning, etc. And this is representing almost something called SRM. SRM. What do you mean by SRM? What do you mean by SRM? Customer relationship management is CRM, أخوي عبد الله. SRM. S as a sport, R for rare, M for management. SRM. S as a supplier. SRM. تحوم حول الحمى يا الفيفي. Supplier raw material. You are almost there. Ahmed, you are right. Supplier relationship management. So it is much more than going transactional purchasing items. Supplier relationship management means managing all the interactions with the supplier. So anybody can walk me to your journey with a new supplier. How does it look like? What's happening from the moment you decide to choose a supplier to the moment you sign a contract and have a product? What's happening from this moment till this moment? And why we need to refer to it, and the software of hundreds of thousands called SRM software, supplier relationship management. Why there's huge focus on it. Factories like Volkswagen's, they close some of their factories. A huge manufacturer. Countries are disrupted because of lack of some of the materials, especially the crucial materials. What's happening from the moment you decide to get a product till the moment you choose supplier till the moment you contract? What's happening there in this journey? Fatma, yes, first and foremost, I need to do planning. What's the product strategically for all the year? I need to collect the quantity, how to provide the goods. I would love to have electronical feasibility, study the quality and the price. Mumtaz, Akhi Abd Rahman, excellent. What else? What's happening? First and foremost, actually, it says need identify or need analysis. I need to do all the analysis, like Fatma do the planning. Planning for all the need of the year. I do the analysis, collecting the data from end user within the company, and then ahsantum, reputations, choosing the supplier, suitable requirement, ahsantum. I'll come to this in sequence. First and foremost, I will do all the needed. Then I'll identify the acceptable dimensions, features, requirements, what are acceptable, what not acceptable. Then I will do something called supplier qualification, and sometimes say supplier pre-qualifications, which is a key requirement to be a supplier in a leading company like Aramco, Sabic, Sekiko, STC, elsewhere. What do you mean by supplier qualification? Why I need to do the supplier qualifications? What does supplier qualification means? بالعربي تأهيل موردين وتأهيل مقاولين. أحسنت. To select the right one from the beginning, at least I would know you have all the legal requirements. Some of the countries are not allowed to buy from. Some of the countries they have some issues. They have the الملاءة المالية. They have financial capability to deliver product. They have right productions, right scalability. They have a good reference. Some companies requesting to have an ISO or proof that you have a good quality product. So it's supplier qualification. Then I will choose best of the best between all this requirement. And later on, I will do a negotiation. And it is by itself is an art, and sometimes doing negotiations with the client, do technical evaluations, then commercial evaluation, legal evaluation, etc. So a lot of happening to ensure you're having raw material. Actually, getting the right raw materials, right components, right services, it is the first step that either will lead you to success or failure within supply chain. Because you need to be an extra cautious that you have choosing the right supplier. It's not anymore, it is a win-lose relationships. You choose the supplier based upon the lowest price, but you are looking to the supplier as a partner. Why do I need to have ahsant, yeah, Mr. Fifi, win-win relationships? Why do I need to consider a supplier as a partner rather than a company I deal with? It's transactional. Why I need to have a strategic relationship with my supplier? To ensure long-term relationships, so means long-term access to the materials I need. And integrations of success, because it's going to be a key to success. Ahsant, Ahmed, because it is one of your links, so you need all your link need be strong. supply chain is as strong as your weakest link. So our supplier need to be strong as well. Your success and reputations is depending on this supplier to minimize losses because of quality and uncertainty. Do you know what is the largest recall in the whole history? بالعربي استدعاء. Like what happening in the newspaper, they request you to return some of the Toyota or Range Rover or whatever. Ahmed said Toyota cars. It was a huge one. They have, unfortunately, even they are the godfather of the quality, they still have an issues, but not Toyota. Anybody else? What was the largest recall in the history? Muhammad say Best Buy. I'm not sure about this case. Al-Fifi say a German one. I'm not sure which one you refer to. Volkswagen, Ford, no, as far as I know, Samsung. Actually, it was for GM car. They recall an around 8.6 million car, which is by far was the largest. And they do huge investigations to know what went wrong within the quality. And what do you think was the reason? When they do huge investigation, yes, Abdurrahman, they were pushing the one of the Spanish supply, Mexican supplier, I'm sorry, to minimize the cost, negotiate again and again, and they make a lot of compromising in the price. So the supplier ended up, he's forced to compromise in the quality, because at the price they requested to sell the product, it was not anymore attainable to them. So it is a great lesson that if you push your supplier harder than supposed to be, sometimes is not good option. It might be a successful and rewarding at the short run, but it's not a very sustainable option. Then we have a manufacturer or a converter that converting raw materials to a finished product. By that we mean we add value to the item. What do you mean by value adding to the item? Change the usable items. Ahsant Abdurrahman. Good reputation. I'm not sure what this good reputation means. Make it worthy. Simply, you are changing raw materials to a finished product that add value. Let's say in Saudi Arabia, for example, we're focused in the crude oil. Now we have a petrochemical, and now we have, inshallah, advanced petrochemical. And hopefully in the near future, inshallah, will be a great manufacturing country with Allah. So it is converting the raw material and adding value to it to make it a much worthy to our items. Because as much as you process the material and make changes to it, it's going to be much more valuable from the customer perspective. طيب. In supply chain and logistics, when we see finished products, what does finished product means? I'm already saying before that noise. The item are consumed, not really ready to buy, not expired. Muhammad, you are almost there. deliverables, Muhammad Al Yahya. أحسنت يا محمد نور. Actually, let's make this very, very, very clear. Finished product in supply chain means has been manufactured, labeled, quality inspected, packed, and ready to ship to the customer. So this is the definition of the a finished product in supply chain. Means ready to ship to the customer. Prior to this, it is a finished product, but not ready. When we say a supply chain, a finished product means ready to be handed and delivered to the customer. Let me ask you questions. Let's say Nova factory, and they have this bottle of water. So is this a finished product at the Nova stages, which is the converter? Is this a finished product? If we say yes, Muhammad say no. What else? Iman say yes. Ayman say yes. Abdurrahman, Vivi say yes. Ahmed say yes. Ihab say yes. Anybody else? I'm really sorry to tell you it is no. Because does the Nova sell water in a bottle format or in cartons and in a pallet? So back to the definition of the finished product from supply chain and logistics. It is not finished product until it's ready to ship. It is very, very rarely opportunity they're gonna sell a water in a bottle format. They're gonna sell it most probably in cartons and most definitely in a pallet, but not lower than this. It's not economic actually to sell it. But let's say I'm a corner coffee shop, corner coffee shop, or a small convenience store. So is this a finished product? Yes, because they sell the product in an SKU. So we need to be careful when we deliver, because this is going to be impacting all of you think you do. So back to center point example, the t-shirt is finished product if the customers come and collect it, but it's not so for the customer who will pick it or for online, because need a small packaging and label. And by the way, one of the things that we need to do all the label by all the governmental authorities, especially for food and drugs, there's a lot of restrictions. So the product cannot be considered a finished product until you have all the label from all the regulators. Yep. I will try my best to stop by 8:30, so we'll have interactions and questions. Then it will go to the customer, which is end user, sometimes called consumers or retailers. It depends. Some of the books they consider end user to be consumer. Some of them consider end user to be a customer within the companies. I used to be a supplier for Saudi Aramco. Saudi Aramco, they call all the entities within Aramco as an end user. So they still consider to be a customer and serve it, but it is within the organization. Sometimes you sell to retailer, sometimes to manufacturer, or sometimes consumer. Sometimes you stop at retailer. So there's no right or wrong formula. Each and every supply chain, it is unique by itself. What are the flows in the supply chain? What are the flows in the supply chain? What's happening in the supply chain? What the things are moving between supplier, manufacturer, distributor, end user, customer, supplier? أحسنتي فاطمة. First and foremost, material product, which is clear. I go collect a product or service. I go to STC and get a landline or package to my mobile, or go to store and buy something from the store. So material flow, which is moving in this direction, from supplier to converter to distributor, retailer, until reach to the last consumption point. One of the good definition of the supply chain, say, the engineered flow of material, information, and financial flow from point of origin to the point of consumptions. I like the word engineered, which means there is a consistency between the material and information. What do you notice about the flows? Why information flows are different than financial or reuse or material flow? Why information flow is different than material, financial flow, reverse logistics or reuse, maintenance or after sales, or Sarah said from customer to buyer. Yeah, service gift. What else? Transmission. طيب, have you noticed the arrows? It is back and forth because أحسنتي يا سارة, it is two-way communications. One of the key success of the supply chain is the both-way communication. So when you send a supplier, need to have a confirmation. Send an RFQ, you are requesting quotation. You receive a quotation from the supplier. The supplier expecting you to confirm the acceptance of the quotation. Once delivery, you need to have a proof of delivery or shipping notice. And sometimes the supplier have something called advance shipping notice, or ASN. What does ASN mean? Advance shipping notice. What does this mean? And why do we need it? It is one of the functions in ERP system like Oracle or SAP. Why do we need advance shipping notice, commonly within the sector called ASN? أحسنت يا هند. أحسنت. I totally agree with you. Because if the supplier send you ASN and you accept it, means I do have the space. What if the supplier from China bring you hundreds of containers and you don't have space? So you will end up with have a congestion in the supply chain. So it is sort of a communication between the supplier and the manufacturer or customer, telling them, do you have the space? I will deliver to you at certain place with a certain quantity. I'm telling you in advance. I wouldn't come and knock your door. I will send you a WhatsApp message, quite similar to WhatsApp message. Can I come and visit you at this place? I'll bring this much of quantity. طيب. So we have material flow, financial flow, information flow. Financial flow means cash or payment terms that organize the relationship between service provider and the customer. You buy product from supplier, so you pay him money. You store some of the material in DHL, so you buy them money. Retailer buying for distributor, customer buying for the retailer. So it is opposite way to the material. Every time you supply a material service, you expect a cash back. But as we said, if we look at the total supply chain cost, all the activities happening within supply chain, it is point of cost, except the customer where we have they have the revenue of the supply chain. So we have an equation called supply chain profitability. Supply chain profitability. Do you know what is the equation look like about the supply chain profitability? It will be actually supply chain revenue at the end of the supply chain minus all the cost to manufacture, to store, to package, label, and customer service, etc. So there's a lot of cost we need to consider while doing the supply chain. Sometimes, especially for the home appliances, you need to maintenance or after sales services. Companies like Apple tell you to return the mobile and pay only $100 and get upgrade of the another one, etc. So it's happening after we receive the product, and it's much commonly called reverse flow. But most of the book say material flow, financial flow, and information flow. That are the three main flows, and sometimes you have reverse flow. It's part of the information, Akhi Muhammad. It's part of the information flow. Anything happening, it is information flow. It is like any other thing. You are supplying resources, consultant from one company to another. You write a contract with your supplier, which is a consulting firm. They bring consultant and then pay them. So supply chain management is about integrating all these parties. Why do I need to integrate with my supplier, manufacturer, distribution? Why they need to talk to each other? Why they need to do a lot of coordination, alignment, integrations, supply chain resilience? Why do all of these parties come together and work as a one supply chain? أحسنت يا عبد الرحمن. To minimize billable effects, which means having extra access of inventory. One of the actually side effect الأعراض الجانبية post COVID-19, a lot of companies buying a lot of products in anticipation that will have lockdown. Unfortunately for them, we didn't have lockdown. We are lucky actually to have no lockdown. Situation getting better, so they have a buffer of inventory, and there's no customer for it. They ended up by having a lot of issues and challenges. So back to our friend, she said, you are as strong as your weakest link. So we need to work as a one entity, one integrated organization, so we could proceed, move forward, acting upon it, and deliver to the customer. So how could I tell this is a good supply chain or a bad supply chain? Or we have a good supply chain management or a bad supply chain management. I don't know, end of a product, maybe. Kind of the product, we have it. What else? What's the quality of the product in the product? Ahsanti Ahmed. So I totally agree with Ahmed. It is customer-centric supply chain. So all of what we have, it is for the client, for the customer, or end user, or consumers. Because as you say, we have material costs, transportation costs, manufacturing costs, another transportation cost, inventory holding costs, material return. The only one party that give you the revenue and you can survive is the consumer. So if I don't have the customer, I don't have supply chain. So there is a lot of white paper, just search in it, called customer centric supply chain, which means simply I need to wear the customer glass, take off my glass and wear the customer glass. And in Western in Western culture, they say wear the client shoes. تكرمون كرم السامعين. Means think like client, think the customer requirement, think about what the customer wants. If you go back to the Ford, one of our clients mentioned, one of our trainees mentioned that Ford starting in 17s with only one or two colors, multiple choice. But now, no, you have a lot of choice. Have you tried to go to the Nike website? Anybody try it? At Nike, they will give you the option to make your own shoes, unique shoes. You can choose all the fabrics, colors, finishing. It is outstanding. It is amazing. And all of it, you can see it by the using a lot of artificial intelligence and the 3D blocking. So it look like a real shoes. If you go just to Google and Nike Smart, it gives you the option of what Akhona Ahmed mentioned, customization. What does customization mean? There's a common terminology within supply chain called customization. أحسنت يا أخي أحمد. Means to do some changes and some amendment to make it fulfill the unique requirement of a certain client. And in logistics and last mile, they say sometimes personalization of a product or service, which means make some changes and amendment to fulfill the unique requirement. And it doesn't mean you change the whole product, but a little bit of things. One of the challenges that Dell face, and it is a common case study among supply chainers, the charger, because the plug change from one country to another. So, and the manual changes. So what they start to do, they do distribution center, and the charger will make it at the consumption point, so they know exact demand need instead of sending wrong inventory. So they make decision point of combining the laptop with the charger at the consumption point, because it is closer to the customer, so you know what the customer needs. So supply chain management is the integration between manufacturer, supplier, distributor, warehousing, so we'll have the right product, a right quantity, a right quality, while satisfying the customer requirement, trying to minimize the cost of manufacturing, cost of supply, cost of inventory, and maximizing the revenue and return. Let me ask you any questions. During the last decade, where we have the huge change in the supply chain? Where we have transformation, change, they change the whole era of supply chain. أحسنت أخوي أحمد. Technology to the supply chain. What else? Where in technology in specific changing the whole thing? The globalizations and digitizations. You are almost there. I want a certain word. Communication is crucial. I do agree. Communications. What else? What's changing the whole model of business? Faster. أحسنت Mr. Fifi. What else? Easy to buy and purchase from. أحسنت يا أخوي أحمد. Online, internet, e-commerce. E-commerce changing the whole world. So we have something called e-fulfillment center or fulfillment center or micro fulfillment center. What do you mean by fulfillment center? What's the difference between warehouse, distribution center, fulfillment center, micro fulfillment center? Why do we need all this different size of storage? It used to be a big one that you have hundreds of tons of items in a bulky quantity. Now we need to have it in smaller and smaller and smaller quantity, and we need to serve B2C in a smaller quantity. And guess what? He cannot wait. He wants faster. He won't track it at the moment. He buy the product. He wants to have the product. So back to the questions. Warehouse usually meant for the long-term storage of the product, distribution in a short term, and they have more activities of handling, repackaging. Break bulk means you have it in container, make it in pallet or cartons. Fulfillment center actually mainly meant to serve the e-commerce client. That's why sometimes they call it e-fulfillment, which is 100% meant to be serving e-commerce and last mile. Last but not least, we have something called micro fulfillment center. Micro fulfillment center, it's meant to serve the customer within the urban areas, within small areas, and meant to be a pickup point. طيب, I'll come to your point, Lubna, for the blockchain and Ahmed for the distributions. طيب, let's go to Na'na'. Do you know Na'na'? Anybody does? Yes. So how many channel of serving the client they have? أحسنت يا أخوي سعود in Lebanon. Say, oh no. How many channel? They have two. Anybody seconded Abdurrahman? Website, yes. How many channels they have? Means كيف يقدروا يوصلوا الخدمة لنا؟ من نعناع إلى one. How many channel? One. Anybody else? Somebody say two, one. Can everybody participate? Do you know Na'na'? If you know Na'na', tell me how many channels. كم طريقة نعناع يخدمون المنتج? Creatively 3. They use combination of online and offline. I didn't think so. They have physical store. They have dark store, and we'll come to this. طيب. Actually, they have two sort of customer. They have Na'na' dark store. Do you know what dark store means? المتاجر المظلمة means the store within the suburb that deliver a product within 10 to 20 minutes, sometimes to have an hour, which is have the basic requirements. If you go to that store and knock to Na'na', say, please, I want to buy water. Say, sorry. It's meant to be only for an online client, and they have the facility. And this was not the main Na'na' business model. When they started their business model back then, it's meant to be only a delivery from their warehouses in Riyadh. If you are from Riyadh, you know what I'm talking about, from Saleh to all the suburbs. So they use the economics of scale. From Danube, Banda, Carrefour, Tamimi to your client. And guess what? How long would it take it to receive the product? If you have a monthly grocery order, buying everything, pasta, rice, sugar, flour, water, soft drinks, else things. How long would it take? Fast, but I mean, I'm not talking about Nana Express store. I'm talking about the regular form. If you go just, I know Nana store, which is, I don't know what they call it, Express or whatever, like other app, what they call it. Another app has as well delivery thing. But what else? Abdullah say one day. I didn't know actually. The last time I deal with them takes from 2 to 3 days. 2 to 3 days. But within the COVID-19, it takes much longer because all of the challenges and issues are aware of it. So they have two clients. One client, they need the product within, you can wait for it. It is for the monthly grocery, and sometimes no. You need item immediately. Let's say a mom cooking for her kids and her husband, and all of a sudden she figured out that she doesn't have the yogurt, she doesn't have salt, and cannot wait. So it needed immediately in the spot. So they will do the Nana Express. So they have two customers, two channels. Usually the Nana Express, within 30 minutes, you will receive it by motorbike, and it will not accept the order unless within the proximity. And here the technology and smartness like blockchain, artificial intelligence, machine learning come to the place. They can figure out the client allowed to place an order. Do you know Bakkah? Have you been in Bakkah? Mumtaz. The other questions, you know, Bakkah is part of a big listed company called Safullah. Are you aware of this as well? Safullah, it is a great group of companies. They have a lot of manufacturer, different investments within the kingdom and beyond. And I asked one of the managerial persons there, why do you need a retail arm within a great group of manufacturers, bonds, stocks? Why do you need this business? They have almost a big supply chain and all owned by Safullah. Why do they need a retailing arm called Bakkah? What do you think? Why Safullah Group, which is a group of investing in manufacturer, a great channel of profit and marketing, target more customer, definitely. I cannot agree more. What else? Anybody can guess? Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Actually, the answer was, it is a cash cow. بقرة حلو. Do you know this terminology? Because they have something called a payment term. دفع بالآجل. What happens to Bakkah, they have a payment terms from 60 to 90 days, and they sell a product in cash. Let's assume that I moved to the Bakkah and I told them, well, I didn't have cash in my money, in my bucket. Can I pay you after 1 month? What Bakkah would tell you? They tell you no. You need to pay immediately on the spot. So it is their cash to cash cycle, which is, by the way, one of the big indicator for the supply chain success or failure. Very good one. they buy a product within a payment term of 30 to 90 days and sell it by cash, which is a good cash, and they take the cash and utilize it within Banda and other activities as well. So it is a good cash cow.
طيب, let's move to the host history. What happens to supply chain? What is the activities
It used to be very scattered, called demand planning, purchasing, then we have requirement planning, production planning, warehousing, material planning, packaging, inventory, distribution planning. All of these are working separately. So it used to be what they call it in a silo forming company. Do you know what silo means? Soma. Every department in their own. We are on our own. We didn't see. It's like a horse, you know, meant to see only what you want to see. The main theme for this, it's called fragmentations. Yeah, everybody working in different directions, and they didn't have much of this one. Later on, people get bit asking why we didn't have a consolidation, combining, making together demand forecasting with requirement planning, etc. And then warehousing together, and all the distributions make it all together as well. So combining and aggregating similar activity at one group. Why we need to do this? For example, for the material management at 80s, why they manage, why they merge and consolidate demand forecasting, sourcing, requirement planning, production planning, and manufacturing inventory. Why they consolidate together? Abdurrahman, I'll come back to your question. أحسنت يا محمد. Cost optimization, better coordination, better alignment. It reduce the cost and make it more optimal than make it independently.
Then in 90s, start people making logistics
and think of it as logistics as integration. Later on, what called value-based supply chain management were all led by information technology, and nowadays supply chain digitalizations and supply chain 4 and 5 and 4 beyond. Back to your question, Abdurrahman, yes, convergence cycle or cash to cash cycle is shorter in some sectors than others, and retailing it is a fast one. Yes, definitely, Iman, your answer is optimally. It's all about information. Do you know Mr. Osama Zamil? He is the Vice Minister of Ministry of Industry and Mineral Resources. In one of his interviews, he say, next oil is the data. So it's everything is geared and managed by the data. Just this is to seconded what Iman mentioned. Just to kill the confusion, I receive these questions almost on a weekly basis. First mile, middle mile, last mile. And for the gentleman who asked me for Arabic, there is an interview on YouTube. Just write Ammar al-Abdur Salasil Imdad. There is an interview. I explain this and other things in Arabic. If you would like to know more about this topic and others one. In our case, first mile start in Far East, US and Europe. By that, we buy a product or raw materials or packaging material from China. So the manufacturer deliver the product to their own distribution center, to their then land transportations, multiple mode of transportations until it reach to port, and from there to go to the destination port, and from there to another big warehouse, and then it will go to the end distribution center or warehouse until reach to the customer. Why we distinguish between first mile, middle mile, and last mile? This is the first question. And the second question, I'll come back to it. So let's start by the first question. Why I would love to distinguish between first mile, second mile, sorry, middle mile, and last mile. First mile, it is usually used for the exporting product from China, Europe, USA, or whatever to another country, like in our case. So we import a lot of products, especially from China. China is the largest manufacturer. So we need to be extra cautious about the quality, what's happening, the integrity. And one of the reasons that I need to have a strong SRM during the COVID-19 and lockdown, even you have the money, it doesn't mean that you would have access to the product, because they have unlimited resources, a limited logistics hub, a limited space in the port, a limited container availability. Answering your question, Akhoy Ahmed, yes, it is. Most of the case is P2B, yes, for the companies. We are not part of it, which is happening far away from us. I get the privilege actually to go to one of the port in Antwerp, which is in Belgium, which was a great experience to see all of the logistics there. Yeah, this is the first mile. Then middle mile, we're talking about a product comes either through seaport, and now, mashallah, airports are getting improved in logistics. And from there, do some processing, and then to a central warehouse, and from there to a smaller warehouse or logistical hubs, and from there to the customer and consumer. طبعا, this is an oversimplification. If I want to explain this slide in details, we'll take the whole night, and I don't want to disrupt your weekend. But this is a really an important concept to understand why it means last mile. Last mile doesn't mean the last mile, which is only the last mile, the last 50 or 60 kilometers, which means reaching to the final customers, a lot of coordinations, a lot of optimization, and so on and so forth.
What are the keys to effective supply chain management?
First and foremost, information. And it's only the one flow that have bidirections. There is a good say from a FedEx CEO, say, information about shipment is as valuable as the shipment. So tracking and tracing the information is a key to success supply chain. Actually, one of the key transformation points from logistics supply chain was availability of information. So if you go back to history, one of the leading experience between Walmart and Procter & Gamble was geared by availability and access to inventory. And what is the most important and crucial information? The question, what is the most important and the crucial information within the demand to a certain extent? Where is the item? Yes, about track and tracing the item, I totally agree, Akhoy Ahmed. Akhoy Abdurrahman, demand. Information about demand. Stock availability, it's crucial. Iman, I totally agree. What else? So I will write it down for you in the chatting, and let's see if anybody can get it.
مستر عمار هي جت عندي أنا.
معلش أنا آسف.
It's okay.
تقريبا BOS. Everybody have it now? Can anybody give it a guess? أحسنت يا عبد الرحمن. Point of sale. That's why المراعي, they are much more caring. They have a barcode for each and every store. They want to know exactly which product are delivered to which store in accurate locations without any anticipations or thinking here or there. It might be, there's no probability. So it is as crucial as anything else in things, because point of sales is the last interaction point with your source of revenue, where you realize your profit. So it is very crucial. Actually, back in 2016, I did a study about supply chain of Saudi Aramco, which is a leading oil and gas company. Now it's become a leading in energy, actually, integrated company. And they are one of my clients, by the way. They mention they used to sell the product B2B, mainly to a wholesaler, and wholesaler they sell it to a petrol station. And what's the change happening in Saudi Aramco recently? Do they keep this model, which is only selling to B2B wholesalers, huge quantity to a wholesaler, and wholesaler to a petrol station to us? What is the change? Ahsant. The change, they have a petrol station now, Aramco petrol station, and they are planning to do everywhere. If you go back to history and read, I wrote another article titled in Arabic, محطات أرامكو نموذجية. I requested Saudi Aramco because all the oil companies, BP, ExxonMobil, Shell, any other leading oil and gas, they have petrol stations, because it is by far you have the visibility to the actual consumptions. You know the attitude of the consumer. You can reach to the granularity level. You know the characteristics of customer, when they need it, how needed, what's the timing. So you have very valuable information. You wouldn't have access to it unless you have an interactions with the client. So that's why all the social media and a lot of applications are meant to sell our products. Some of the even the gym applications, it's free subscriptions, but they're asking about questions about, have you exercised today? What do you do? What do you have food? So what they do actually, they collect information about your behavior, attitude, and then sell it to the company needed to customize a product here. Second way, communications. Even you have access to informations, you need to communicate on time, like what our colleagues say, level of inventory, the needed disruptions and issues. And communication cannot happen if there is no cooperations, and cooperation cannot happen unless there is a trust, and the trust cannot happen overnight. Yani Walmart and Procter & Gamble, they will not share inventory and reach to an almost, I wouldn't say 100%, almost an open book history, unless there is a history of transactions, treatment years, and they translate this trust to institutional cooperation. So they communicate a very sensitive information about what we call point of sales data. I wouldn't take much of your time The objective supply chain to reduce the cost, enhance the visibility. So I will do my best to reduce the manufacturing, warehousing, transportation, inventory, enhance visibility, simplify the supply chain, and build actionable competencies within the company.
Right. Let's come to this terminology called ROA,
Return on assets. What is the difference between ROI and ROA? Do you know what's ROI stand for? I'll write it down.
ROI versus ROA. أحسنت.
So طبعا I wouldn't explain the whole thing because I don't have much time actually. I need to leave some time for you to ask questions. Everything investment. ROA, I'm talking about asset. Asset, which means not an easy to liquidate, like warehouse, manufacturing facility, storage facility. Why we need an ROA linked with supply chain? Because supply chain by its nature, it's called CapEx intensive, OpEx intensive. Means you have a huge investment in your CapEx, so does OpEx. And you need to calculate and assure that you have a good investment in your asset. How do you make this? There's another KPIs. For example, inventory turnover. What does inventory turnover mean? Again, to our example in our own accent. هل المنتج يمشي ولا لا? Means how many times you get this item in and out, in and out. It's called inventory turnover. Having inventory turnover means this product is useful. It is there for a purpose, not only having a huge warehousing while the product is not needed by the client.
Oh,
A new era of competition, one of the leading supply chain authors say, competition is not anymore between companies, it is between supply chains. It is actually a great, very supply chain philosopher. I don't know if I call the right wording for him. It's great supply chain authors, Mr. Martin Christopher. You can refer to his books. It's available online. It's a very useful one. His name is Mr. Martin Christopher. I will write in chat in a minute. They say competition is not between companies, it is between supply chains. What do you mean by this one? Why I really to compare my supply chain versus my competitor supply chain? I will compare one company to another. Rami say because you are dependent in your partner like a transportation company, which impacting your customer service. Mr. Rafifi say because they are relying on supplier. I would back to the same supplier. I like it, huh? Mr. Rafifi. Ahmed, the key success does not depend on only the core company. Definitely, Ahmed. Akhoy Abdurrahman, not finishing goods only, but all the organization are related to the process and the product. Simply, when we compare GM versus Toyota, we compare supplier, transportation, converter, warehousing, transportation versus this one, because they are integrated, dependent, correlated. So as we mentioned, you are as strong as your weakest link. So the success not anymore on the complex. That's why you have hundreds of applications, maybe thousands in the Saudi market. But the success, one of them are few. And one of the reasons beyond their success, they have a supply chain understanding. ولكن أنا جاهز, مرسول, elsewhere. just part of their success is their investment supply chain. They're aware of the importance of integration, data, communication, etc. I'm not sure. Shall we stop here? Would you like to stop and have questions or move forward? I don't know. It's yours, because we left with 10 minutes. I don't want to dictate at this stage. I hope I have more time, Salah. I enjoy time with you, ladies and gentlemen. Ahmed say we can continue. Anybody have different opinion? Okay, let's proceed. We have 2 more slides. Again, I wish I have more time. You know, Apple, with all of this media and reputations, and most of our houses have more than iPhone within their house. They have very, very, very simplified supply chain. And word of cautious, actually, they didn't reach to this level of maturity unless they have been moving in multiple transformations, a lot of changes until they reach there. The people think simply Apple just moved the manufacturing to China because of accessibility to the cheap labor or cheaper. No, it's far beyond there. Their location, technicality, availability, their investment, etc. So simply, they have a supplier from all across the world. They have a very, very big giant assembly and manufacturing within China, and then they have 2 channels. The channel 1 is go to intermediate warehouse, which is external warehousing run by UPS and FedEx, which is for an online store like me and you go and buy it. Most of the product go to a mega warehouse in California, whereby they sell it to all the clients, big one, like Jarir, Vodafone, STC, Mobile, etc. Then they sell it to wholesaler, retail store, maybe to their Apple store. And then if they have any issues or any damage, they return it to product or they return it for upgrading. So you could imagine, yani, Apple with all of these innovations and design. I'm not sure. It is up to 10 or 9.
Nizar can answer. Nizar, are you here? Nizar, are you here?
Yes, Mr. Ammar.
Is our session up to 9 or 10 p.m.?
10 inshallah.
Mumtaz. So we would have time, inshallah. We would finish
enough time. Enough time, inshallah.
Mumtaz. We would have, inshallah, time for questions, and then we'll leave earlier. I know most of you it's weekend, so I don't want to hold you more, Salah. And I thought it's up to 9, but anyhow, we could proceed. For part of the Apple innovations, they have centralizations of warehousing, centralization of manufacturing, minimizing of interface. Since we have time, alhamdulillah, thank you, Nasr, that you make my life easier now. I could explain this slide and the next slide in a bit more. Why do they need to do the centralizations? Why do we need the centralization? Or let's say, what are the benefits of centralization of manufacturing or centralization of warehousing? What if they have manufacturing in China and in Riyadh or in USA? Ya salam عليك. You made my night. Simply this, I couldn't add more. More control and quality. You can easy to control quality, make sure the standards, the compliance, etc. So we would have much more control on the quality for incoming, procedure, processes, etc. So does for warehouse. I have one warehouse. I have a firm standard, procedure, and policies. Would this model work for another companies? No. That's why each and every company, it is unique by itself. Any questions so far? I'm sorry, I talk a lot. I used to have. Any question? Anybody would like to participate? Can raise his hand. I could.
أحسنت أيمن to get better price
and I'm happy صراحة. I have the same number from the beginning to the end of the session, which means it's very enjoyable to all of you. Thank you. You stay for the whole session in your weekend. It's really appreciated. I'm really thankful for all of you. Inshallah, I wouldn't hold you more. We have one more slide, and then we have Q&A, and then we say goodbye. طيب, let me ask you a question. What will be the futuristic supply chain, the future supply chain? سلاسل الإمداد المستقبلية. By the way, there is a title article. If you just search in Google, I write an article about سلاسل الإمداد المستقبلية, futuristic supply chain. How will futuristic supply chain look like? Definitely, by far, automated. What else? On demand. Ya salam. All robotics, I'm not sure صراحة, because it's not all the time it is a feasible option. ما هو اقتصادي دائما to make it all robotics fully automated. Sometimes you need advanced manual, sometimes you need faster, definitely. You need move fast. Rami, so I agree with you. Highly dependent on artificial intelligence, أخوي عبد الله. Yes, by far. يا سلام عليك يا عبد العزيز. Involve in data analysis, high quality, maybe. What else? There is a white paper. Do you know what does white paper mean? Reduce price and cost. I'm not sure صراحة. They could do it all the time. Shorter linkages between factories and consumers. Yes, to a certain extent, not all the time. Improve artificial intelligence. انتصار. Anybody else before we start to comment? السلام عليك يا عبد الرحمن. يا سلام عليك يا عبد الرحمن. You made my night. يعني what Abdurrahman mentioned, if we spend the whole night, maybe it's not enough. It is data-driven supply chain, means depends on heavily on the data. I'll come to this. Shukran ya Abdurrahman. It's a very great point, by the way. Anybody else? طيب. There is a great white paper. Do you know what white paper mean? White paper is a small study or a publication, usually published by consulting firms like PwC, Ernst & Young, Accenture. Very good one. There's a very, very nice one, supply chain study called Connected Autonomous Supply Chain. Connected Autonomous Self-Driven Supply Chain. It is a white paper written by PwC. Just 1 second, I'll make sure. I'll give you the correct, yes. connected and autonomous supply chain ecosystem. First and foremost, connected. Why the supply chain need to be connected? And what is connected, the link between supplier, manufacturer, warehouse, consumer? Why it needs to be connected? The first criteria identified by PwC, I will write, inshallah, send the link before the end of it. Just remind me before we conclude this great session. Ahsant ya Ahmed. It's linked by data. Data is the blood for the supply chain. It's linked by the data. Connected by the data, by the system, there's coordination, communication on both sides. And to be accurate and always updated. The second criteria, autonomous. Do you know what autonomous means? يعني ذاتية القيادة. What do you mean by autonomous supply chain? Or it's autonomous supply ecosystem? Just write it in the chat in post to you, Nidar, so we can put in the chat box. New technology is coming called supply chain 4.0. Sorry, called 4.0. I'm not sure. I missed the chat. Yeah, mainly depending on big data, engineering, and analytics. Ahsant. Iman can make decisions dependent on best practices. Ahsanti ya Iman. Abdurrahman, automated and repeated task. طيب ما شاء الله عليكم. ذاكرين ورانا شكم. ما شاء الله ما شاء الله يعني most of the interactions and points, it's very great. ما شاء الله ما شاء الله يعني you are very well educated. I highly recommend you much more. And supply chain, it's like an ocean صراحة. No matter how much you learn, I'm still learning صراحة. Autonomous means it's self-geared. It can do some exercise independently. Does not need a lot of human interactions and interfaces. Like autonomous vehicle. You know what is autonomous vehicle? المركبة ذاتية قيادة. So it does same concept in supply chain. طبعا it wouldn't be 100% autonomous, but we try our best to do what we call RPA. Do you know what RPA means? RPA, let me just make sure the right. RPA. Yes, RPA. What does RPA mean? RPA. أحسنت يا عبد الله. أحسنت. Abdullah, you wrote it to the host and panelist. If you can link it to everybody, paste it. Intisar, you same thing. You wrote it to only me and Nidar. If you can put it into everyone, it's good. Actually, Akhuna Abdullah and Intisar, they wrote the right answer, which called robotics process automations. طيب. I will copy paste it in behalf of Intisar and Abdullah. I'll make sure I send it to everybody. Okay. Thank you, Intisar and Abdullah. robotic process automations. I don't know why I'm not able to copy it. Oops. Copy. Nidar, can you copy it and paste it for me, please? Robotic process automations. I'm not able to do it from my end. Robotic process automations. What does RPA mean? What does robotic process automations? Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you for your help. Allah Jazaak khair. This means the repeatable tasks. I would ask the system to do it in my behalf. For example, something called REM in SAP. Do you know what does REM mean? It means repetitive manufacturing order. Let's say we are producing polyethylene in Sadara Chemical Company, hundreds of miles. So it means this will be repeated again and again and again. So you don't need to go and put yourself. In finance sectors, the invoice number and the due date. Abdurrahman, go ahead, please. If you want to talk, I can give you the right. Abdurrahman and answer. Abdurrahman, Sir Abdurrahman. Sorry.
عملت له allow.
ممتاز, بارك الله فيك.
Yes.
Abdurrahman, if you want to talk, go ahead, please. طيب. Till he participate, we will continue. So in finance, for example, you would have the information from BO, due date, and have it to you ready. He will do the hectic, repeated, doesn't need to thinking on your behalf. So it's called robotic process automation. And by the way, there's a lot of software and a sector and field by itself. If we talk the whole night about it as well, it wouldn't. And robotic process automations can be applicable in legal, in finance, supply chain, manufacturing. So it's not restricted for the supply chain in specific. Right. They mention it's connected, autonomous, supply chain ecosystem. Why do we call it ecosystem? Manzuma, not a supply chain system. Why do we call it ecosystem? Make sure this supply chain ecosystem. Why they call it supply chain ecosystem? Bigger. What does that include in it? Why we don't call it supply chain system? Why do we call it ecosystem? Actually, Saudi Aramco, everything is connected. أحسنت يا أخي محمد. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's ecosystem. So what is included in this ecosystem? Included the manufacturer, the supplier, the wholesaler, the transporter, distribution center, retailer, express delivery, software, applications. They need to work as an ecosystem. Plus, I need a very talented people to run the supply ecosystem, to run the supply chain. So it is not dependent only on the companies. It needs as well the software. They need people, technology, processes. So it is the whole thing together comes together to deliver a product and service. It's getting much more complicated to deliver a product or a service to client just to have the product and sell it. It needs to have integration, coordination, alignment. Not all the time. Easy to just cut it short and say, oh, I'm just caring about my customer and supplier. No, we need ecosystem means manzuma, the whole system, including supplier, manufacturer, السيستم، البيبل، التكنولوجي، البروسيسز، they need to work as an ecosystem. الانفراستراكشر، الاي تي سيستم، logistical infrastructure, they need all of these called an ecosystem. Did I answer your questions, Muhammad? Thank you. طيب. Let's move to the last slide. As I promised, I wouldn't hold you much. I know you want to start your weekend, so do I. Inshallah, we will cut it in short. I wouldn't stay until 10. I see chit chat here about the timing. Inshallah, we'll finish soon. Yeah. Before 10 p.m. for sure. Just want to move the chat so I can read with you. The vision, the tomorrow supply chain will be connected and self-orchestrated ecosystem. It needs to be connected by data, by system, coordination, and client. Like, what are the benefits in supply chain? The digitalization supply chain, they will have cost saving and revenue increase if they take in consideration all the best practice in supply chain digitalization as per the study. This study, it's 25 pages. I cannot summarize it in one page. I'm just giving you shadow light here and there. Inshallah, before I end, I will refer to this study called Connected Autonomous Supply Chain Ecosystem 2025. Closed loop and integrated plan. Oh my God, this is a very great terminology. It has much more meaning within digitalization and within sustainability. What does closed loop supply chain mean? Ahmed, from my side, I don't mind to do so. You can reach me out if you need the slides in person level. All yours, and I have nothing to add. I'm here to share as much as I can. I hope, inshallah, I deliver something to you, ladies and gentlemen. Back to the question, what does closed loop supply chain mean? Closed loop supply chain, if we're talking about sustainability, means everything is recyclable, try to use it and minimize the consumption of material, minimize the transportation, minimizing the fuel. Definitely. I will open Intisar platform for questions. If you can hold your question till I finish this slide, I'll take another maximum 5-10 minutes, then we'll take all the questions. Inshallah, and Nidar will help me. Our sister Nidar, inshallah, will help me if I miss any question. And this is one of the questions I will answer, inshallah, in a minute. So closed loop supply chain means about minimizing the waste within the supply chain, especially the material, the raw materials, the ingredient, packaging material, and so on and so forth. Yep. Closed loop supply chain as well, integrated planning means I have same accessibility informations, I have same planning, I have a shared planning in demand and supply side, etc. طبعا this study as well, it's focusing mainly in the people and mentioning if you didn't have multi-skilled people with artificial intelligence and programming and digitalization, it's really hard or impossible to move forward within this transformation project, because you cannot start one day from a very basic supply chain to a connected autonomous supply chain ecosystem. It is a progress. It takes years of investment in your manpower and your systems, processes, and logistic infrastructure, and so on. Answering your questions, Abdurrahman, does closed loop supply chain means sustainable supply chain. It is part of it, but supply chain sustainability is much more than only the closed loop supply chain about green gas emissions, using ethical supplier, having welfare for employees, and it's a nice topic. And one of my closest friend, Mr. Hani Saiq, you can access him through LinkedIn. He wrote a lot about supply chain sustainability and procurement sustainability. And you can reach me in private if you want. I'm accessible through Twitter or LinkedIn. I can give you much more resources if you are interested. Definitely, it will depend in the artificial intelligence in supply chain improvement and taking decisions. Like what our friend Abdurrahman mentioned, it is data-driven supply chain. It's about collecting data from multiple points within supply chain, capturing the data, collecting it, and make it in use, because information collected, if not usable, it's not that added value to the supply chain. طيب, what are the characteristics of information needed in the supply chain? It need to be one. Anybody? Timely, because if you have real-time information, it's the most advanced supply chain. أحسنت يا إيمان. Very good answer. ما شاء الله عليك. ما شاء الله عليك يا إيمان. It should be accurate and timely. Timely, either you have real-time information, you have immediately, or near to real-time, or after 1 hour. Closer to the actual happening to the supply chain means better access to the data, means you can master the supply chain better and move to the next level in futuristic supply chain. And need to be accurate. The data need to be structured. It need to be consistent. It need to be put in a format that can be used and help us to take informed decision, data-based decision, data-driven decision, which means I take decision upon actual data at different stages within supply chain, especially what we call point of sales information or demand consumptions. Dynamic supply chain segmentations. It goes to actually to an extreme. They say supply chain can be combined and أحسنت يا أيمن, should be clear and understandable data. It can be combined, it can be separated, it can be virtual, can be cross-continental supply chain. It doesn't need to be in one country. You can use and have access of multiple countries using their competitive advantage. For example, China in logistics and manufacturing, other country access to labor, cost like Bangladesh, other countries like Taiwan, maybe access to the technical expertise, etc. Last but not least, they have smart logistics, smart vehicle, smart accessibility, and RFID, etc. Inshallah, in a minute, I will put the link to the study. I'm done. I don't want to hold you more. I will leave, let's say, another 10 minutes and more, maybe up to 10 p.m. if you have questions. But I didn't want to take much of your time. So I meant it meant to be 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, because it's Thursday and it is the end of your weekdays. Most of us, as I have work. Once again, any question? I have one question here. About the Vision 2030 in supply chain. طبعا Vision 2030 has focused more about the supply chain and making Saudi Arabia to be a logistical hub for all of the industry, using it as a strategic location to connecting the 3 continents, which is Asia, Africa, and Europe. And there is a huge focus in local content, تنمية محتوى المحلي, which means doing a lot of activities within the supply chain, from the manufacturing to distribution, packaging and labeling within the country. That's why we have هيئة محتوى محلي, a local content authority. We have a Ministry of Industry and Mineral Resources, dedicated minister to do all the local content. We want to have an access to the material and manufacturing capability, so we didn't be in risk of having any challenge like what we have. A lot of initiatives has been taken and further. As you have seen recently, the postal services and last mile logistics and delivery application have moved from Ministry of Information and Technology to Ministry of Transportation and Logistics, which means from the first mile, middle mile, and last mile, it's handled by one ministry, which is minimize the waste, maximize the efficiency of legislations. There is much more logistical companies. Tens of them has been seen in the market. There's some international companies, logistics come to the market. There's a lot of changes. And logistical sector in Saudi Arabia and supply chain in general, it's evolving. It's still much more to move, صراحة, a lot of improvement, but we are moving in progress, inshallah. Ayman, I didn't get your answer. I didn't get your questions. Do you need any details from our side? That's for the certifications. Okay, thank you, Mr. Ammar. Thank you so much. What are the main skills needed in supply chain? Yes, actually, in this one, you owe me 2 questions. What are the skills? And what can you work or you finish supply chain? And what are the main certifications? I need to answer this, even though for supply chain, the skills you needed in supply chain, you need to have, first of all, know at least the basic for supply chain. You need to have negotiation, communications, high communication skills, influencing others, outgoing. You have at least basic knowing about data analysis and data analytics. You need to be expert, but you know a little bit. So it is a mix of soft skills and technical skills. If you are in warehousing, you need to know more about warehousing. If you are in inventory, you need to know more about inventory. If you are in planning, you need much more in the planning. Nidar al-Akht Shahad, she has raised her hand. I don't know if she has questions or anything.
Yes, I think she does, but I'm not sure if she still wants to participate.
Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Technicality you need in your field, because supply chain is very, very huge. Whether you're working in procurement, you need to improve yourself in procurement. If you are in logistics, you need to know more about logistics, transportation mode, etc. If you are purely in transportation, you need much more about transportations. If you are in reverse logistics, you need to about return management, claim management. Build expertise. You don't need to know to be Mr. Everything. Because even myself, I don't know the whole thing supply chain. I know a piece part of it. I have experience in some of it, but doesn't mean I have know the whole supply chain. So this is the skills. So where we can definitely, yes. Where we can work after we finish, we can work in governmental institutions that in relation to the supply chain and logistics and transportation. For example, Ministry of Transportation and Logistical Services, Transportation Authority, الهيئة العامة للنقل, General Transportation Authority, Bakkah, الهيئة العامة للطيران المدني. You can work in the airport companies and seaport, etc. You can work as well in logistics companies like Aramex, DHL, Samsa, FedEx, and you can be a supply chain manager or employee in any companies, procurement specialist, logistical coordinator, and supply chain planning. So many other roles can be fulfilled within the company. You can work in logistical company dedicated for logistical services, which you're doing warehousing, storage, packaging, and transportation, or you can work in supply chain within an existing company like Aramco, Sabex, Kiko, Sadara, Tasniya, المرافق, المراعي, etc. So what are the certification within the supply chain? It depends about your career pathway. If you are interested in supply chain and you need to know panoramic view, I get the privilege to deliver ABEX CSCB certifications. If you want to know much more about procurement, you can go through CIPS, which is meant to be for procurement specialists. If you know more about transportation logistics, you need CLT. Definitely, there is a supply chain degree, and I took the master back 11 or 12 years ago. There is multiple universities within the kingdom deliver diploma, bachelor, and master. If you need much more details, I can link to you. And some of them is online-based programs, available degree, but it's great knowledge. And yes, what is actually changing in the last decade, much more of the technology and automation digitalization, which we referred to in the last slide. Any other question? I will share it in a minute. Yes. Other than sharing this slide, are you nominating for some sources to see more about supply chain management? Abdurrahman, yes, I will refer you to supply chain studies plus the PwC. Anything else? Any other questions or requests? نختم بالسلام. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، وأسعد الله مساءكم، وشكرا لكم من القلب لحضوركم. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, being with us. I'm really grateful to have all of you. I will share the link in a minute. بارك الله فيكم جميعا. Back to you, Nibar.
Thank you so much, Mr. عمار. يعطيك ألف عافية، ويعطيكم ألف عافية جميعا. سعيدين جدا بحضوركم لدورتنا اليوم. بالنسبة للشهادات راح توصلكم إن شاء الله جميعا خلال الأسبوع القادم إن شاء الله عن طريق الإيميل. بليز شيكوا عليها في الجنك إذا ما كانت في صندوق الوارد، وحنكون سعيدين جدا بمشاركتنا شهاداتكم عن طريق لينكد إن وباقي حساباتنا على وسائل التواصل الاجتماعي. ونتمنى أنكم ما تنسوا تستفيدوا من البرومو كود الخصم المقدم لكم من بكة لدورة ال HR Human Resources Professional، على أمل إن شاء الله أنه نشوفكم بدورات أخرى قريبا، ونتمنى لكم تجربة تعليم مثمرة إن شاء الله وسعيدة معنا في بكة. يعطيكم ألف عافية وتصبحوا على خير ومع السلامة.